Welcome to the Immerse Creator Update number 3 preview video. Immerse Creator is available on Steam in early access. If you just search for Immerse Creator, you'll find it. And we've got a number of amazing features that we've been working on for the past few months that I am really excited to share with you. One word of caution before we get too far ahead is that this is an early access software. It's a beta version. You will find bugs. Things are going to be changing. We're going to keep on working on this for the next several months or years, and this is going to be in a state of flux. So keep in mind as you're working, this is early access, and we'd love for you to come in and create as much as you can, as much as you'd like. But just know that the interface is going to be changing, functionality might be changing. Some of your saved scenes might break over time. I don't know. It's just, it's going to be changing. So keep that in mind. This is early access, and we're definitely using it that way. But the reason why we're doing this is because we want your input. So we are looking for any users that have ideas for new features that you'd like to see, any new asset packs you'd like to see imported, any bugs that you're seeing. We would love to hear from you. So if you use the Steam Community Hub for Immerse Creator and post your questions, comments, bugs, issues there, that would be very much appreciated. We would love to hear from you, and we do actively take that input and incorporate it, as you'll see with some of the features that we're going to be talking about here. These are features that you requested, and we rolled up our sleeves and we built it. So that's what this is all about. We want to incorporate your feedback, and so definitely let us know what you think. So with that, let's roll right into the features. The first and most exciting feature that we have is the FBX import feature. So the FBX import feature is pretty amazing. So we are obviously in multiplayer here. First, let me introduce Stefan Monette, Sean Blissett, and Don England are here today. Russ Lunsford couldn't make it. He's traveling for the holidays, but we're just in here making a quick video for you. The FBX import is in your Saver widget. So if you look down at your menu and you click on the Saver widget, you'll see an Import FBX file button. And the FBXs that you want to bring in, you'll put in your root directory folder. And the way you find that is by going to Immerse Creator in Steam, right-clicking on it, go to Properties, and then find your Local Files tab. And you'll be able to open up your local files. And you'll see there's an Immerse Creator executable application file, and there's a data folder and a user profile. And while we're here, the user profile is where you can put a thumbnail picture if you want your thumbnail to show up for your face, and your credentials.txt file you see there. Whatever is in there, it becomes the name above your head. So if you want to change your name, you can do so there. But in that root folder, anywhere that you put an FBX, Immerse Creator will find it, and it will show up here in your local files inside your Saver widget. And when you click on Import FBX. So it's a pretty preliminary implementation of this feature. There's a limit to the number of vertices that an object can have. We're currently sorting out some issues with material assignments to sub-meshes within an FBX. But for the most part, you should be able to make use of it to import pretty simple shapes that have a single material applied to them. So we have let's see, I've got an axe here. I can import that, and what'll happen is you'll kind of lag a little bit for just a second, and then you'll hear a double beep, and that means that the asset has finished importing. And now if I go into my Assets widget, I'll see a new Imported FBX button. And if I click on that, here's all the cool FBXs that I imported. Turbo Squid had a holiday or a weekend sale a few months ago, and I just went crazy and bought a bunch of crazy FBXs and brought them in here. So I got some cool stuff, but my axe should be right here. The last thing I imported. There's an axe. So I've got an axe. There's a little bit of a bounding box bug, so as I move it, the bounding box breaks a little bit. But what's cool is that these guys should see this axe. I can hand it there to Stefan, and he can pick that axe up and move it around. And also, anybody that's in the scene with you at that time will also see that same imported FBX in their folders, and then that mesh will show up on their menus. So these guys can make their own versions. There's another version. Sean brought one out here, and we have axes. So that's a pretty cool feature. We've been doing a lot of really interesting testing with it. We've got a condominium that we're testing here for architectural visualization. It looks like Sean brought that in here. So I can just take a peek at what's going on. Looks like you got some people in here. But yeah, that's a really really powerful feature. We're really looking forward to seeing what you guys do with that. Let's see, I've got a fox I imported. That's kind of cool. This yacht is amazing. Suddenly we have a yacht. Yeah, TurboSquid is an amazing resource to just find FBXs to bring in. So now we have a yacht. So yeah, that's the FBX importer. And you can just bring all kinds of cool stuff into your scene. And again, this is multi-user, so these guys can see it. They can move these things around. This is a collaborative creativity suite, so very powerful stuff. All right, so let's go to, while we're on model imports, let's go to model exports. This is another feature from the community, and we heard your input and we implemented this feature. And what's cool about this is you can now build something with shapes and create anything you can imagine with your shapes tool. And when you create, you can create containers. I'll talk more about some of the new features with the containers in a minute, but you can put everything that you're working on that you'd like exported into one container, and then go into your saver, and you have options to export the selected object, export the current container, or export all containers. Now that's not going to bring FBXs or any of the Immerse assets along. It's only going to be your shapes. But if you create something with these shapes, if you mock up an idea for a game level or an architectural design or some engineering part or whatever it is you're building, you can export that out as an OBJ file. So you could conceivably build something in here with shapes and then export it out and bring it into some software to prepare for 3D printing if you want to do that, which would be kind of interesting. Would love to hear from anybody who tries that. We've been meaning to test it, but we just haven't yet. So if anybody does that, definitely post that on the subreddit. We'd love to see what you've got, what you've created. So yeah, you can import and export models now. All right, the next feature that we want to talk about is our new asset packs. First of all, you'll find that there are a bunch of new assets available in the menu. So again, the assets widget is right there, and you can look at the high-level sort of categories that we're working on, and we've got some business ones, some landscape ones, so you can take a tree and just bring it into your scene. All kinds of, we better get this out of the way. So all kinds of cool assets come in by default, but the cool feature that we implemented now is the ability to acquire assets. So it's kind of a store, so to speak, so you'd be able to actually acquire assets. Everything in here is free right now, so that's pretty exciting. So if I want to get more skyboxes, there's my skyboxes. I'm just going to hit get and hit OK. And I have a little import that's going to go across the bottom to let me know the progress. And as soon as that goes all the way across, not only will I have all these skyboxes, but everybody who's logged in will also have access to those skyboxes as well. And they'll see me make this change. So now that that's finished, I go into my inventory tab, skyboxes, and click on one of these. Now we're in the mountains, or we could be in outer space, or in a nebula. I like the sunset. We'll keep it there. But yeah, asset packs, pretty powerful feature. And the cool thing about this is we're going to be loading this thing up with assets. So you'll find that there are tons and tons and tons. I think there's 2,000 assets already in here now, and there's a lot more on the way. We've got a couple of people working on nothing but importing assets. So we're going to be loading this up. With lots of cool assets. We've got plumbing, tables, vases. We've got dungeon packs, dungeon arches. That's what you can see here. We've got the dungeon arches already imported. We've got suburban scenes, like a whole neighborhood of suburban buildings. Characters. Sean's got one of the characters here, and that guy is a character. So definitely check that out. This is going to be a really powerful feature because we are going to have, again, just tons of stuff in here, anything you can imagine. And here too, if you've got an idea for an asset bundle that you'd like to see brought in here, just let us know. Use the community hub or the subreddit and tell us what you'd like to see in the asset bundles, and we'll get them imported. All right, so that is the assets feature. All right, next I'd like to talk about our shapes version 2. So shapes, you might recall, we still have, the ability to bring in simple shapes. You've got cube, sphere, cylinder, capsule, cone, and you can see Don's been working on some shapes over here. So he's got something he's building here. Looks like a little, maybe a duck. Looking good. We got, so you can just use the gizmos on the end to just like stretch these things out. And this is collaborative as well. I mean, as I'm building this, like these guys can see what I'm building and we can see what Don's working on here. And we can work together to create a scene using these shapes if we'd like. So that is the primitive shapes modeling. And all we're trying to do with the shapes is make it possible to do basic sketching. This is not going to be a replacement for 3D Studio or Maya or Blender or SketchUp. This is just, we're trying to make it really easy to be able to just quickly sketch a scene inside VR. If you want to create something more elaborate than that, then we definitely recommend going back out to Blender or Maya or 3D Studio and creating things and importing those as FBXs. It's going to be a lot easier to be able to model with those advanced tools, at least for the time being. So keep in mind, you know, the shapes are just very, very quick and, you know, very sketching sort of primitive shapes that are very, very basic. But we now have an in-development feature to be able to create a different kind of shape. This is a version 2 shape. Looks a lot like the other shape, but now I can go to Edit, and I've got the option to be able to model individual or modify individual vertices. And what's really neat about this is that these guys see these vertices changing in real time as well. So when I go back to object mode, these guys see this goofy shape I just made. And I can go back into edit mode and I can go to edges. And now I can move just edges and I can move just faces. So I can make a real mess here. And these guys can see these changes happening, and then they can take that object and further modify it if they so wish. So that is Shapes version 2. It just gives you a little bit more control as you're sketching with shapes, but again, these are just very basic. We don't have edge loops or any advanced functionality yet. The UVs are just sort of a little bit random. As you stretch, they're just going to be stretching. We don't have a lot of control over UVs yet, but this is Shapes version 2. So looking forward to your feedback on this. Take a look and see what you can do. Oh, Don, I see what Don's doing here. This is a person. Got an arm. Nice. Looking good. All right, cool. So that is Shapes version 2. I think that's everything. You can also, well, I guess one feature is that you can go to edit and you can select multiple. So if you want to actually move like multiple faces, you can just select that one and move them together. So you can multi-select vertices, faces, edges, and whatnot. So Shapes version 2. All right, the next feature I'd like to show you is the recorder. So for now, we've got the ability to take screenshots. So you just go into your utilities, and then you'll find recorder, and you can have this in your hand, and if you hit your trigger finger, I can take a picture of this amazing world that we've created here together today. You'll look for that in your system files in your My Pictures, and then there'll be a folder called Immerse Creator, and inside of that folder will be any screenshots that you take in the scene. So that is the screenshot tool right next to the tape measure. I'm not sure if we have the change units in the previous version, but for what it's worth, you can change units now, and you can model with feet or meters, or I mean measure with feet or meters. All right, the last update that I'd like to share with you, or one of the last updates, is our new containers menu. Still a work in progress, and it's kind of in an awkward spot. You're kind of reaching over your hand to get to it, and we're working on, whoops, I've got a marker in my hand. That's not going to work, John. Let's go to a different menu. And now, what you can do is you can create additional containers with this plus button at the very bottom, and that'll create a new container. Now I've got a container number 11. And with this highlighted, now I'm working in container 11. So if I create a cube now and move that around, only that object moves. And I'm using my lower trigger to be able to grab onto that container. And for whatever it's worth, while we're here, if I squeeze both together, it shrinks that container or enlarges that container, so you can work with scale, which is pretty cool. Then you can toggle the visibility of that layer. So now my cube is gone. If I turn it back on, turn it back on again. There it is. And the button on the right is lock. So now if I try to move that, it won't move. So I've locked that container. And the ability to use your containers is a really important part of your workflow if you're going to be creating scenes. You'll want to make sure that you save, you lock containers that you have basically locked in. So Stefan has this pretty cool little dungeon scene he's been working on. If he starts building anything else around here, he would want to definitely lock that container so that he's not accidentally moving it and breaking it or accidentally, modifying it unintentionally. So using your layers is a really important part of the Immerse Creator workflow to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. You can also delete individual containers, so you can select the container and delete it, or you can duplicate that container. There is a bit of a bug right now where if I want to just like delete this here Fox, my context menu overlaps with my container menu. So what you want to do is just turn your container menu off, and now you're seeing only the context menu, and I can go ahead and delete that Fox. All right, last but not least, we now have Mixcast support built into Immerse Creator. So if you're a Mixcast user and you have Immerse Creator open, you can just hit the number 1 key on your keyboard and it will activate Mixcast. So you can create very easily mixed reality videos to be able to show some of the cool things that you're building with Immerse Creator. And we would love to see those. If you don't mind posting those on YouTube or uploading them to sharing them on the Immerse Creator subreddit, we would love to see what you've been doing. Boy, this is coming along, looking good. All kinds of cool stuff in here. Whoa. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun to work on, and I'm really, really excited. I think we're all really excited to see what everybody creates with this, because you can create just about anything you can imagine. And we are in the multiplayer sandbox, so that's going to be always available. I'm already logged in, so I don't see it, but when you open Immerse Creator, you click on that multiplayer widget tab and you'll see enter multiplayer and there's going to be a passcode, and you enter that passcode, and that's going to be the public sandbox. That's where we are right now. And anybody else that's logged in at the same time, you'll be able to see them and you can build things together. And in the future, you'll be able to have your own private passcode. If you're interested in having your own private passcode in a project that you're working on, get in touch with us through the community hub, and we can talk about how to get you set up with a private passcode. I guess I'm just going to review some of the other features to finish this out. When you're in multiplayer, you can actually choose different avatar types. We've got a few default ones. We're going to be working on some more. You can pick the avatar that you want. You can change the material of that avatar now, which is kind of cool. I think you could do that before, but and then you can change the detail color. So everybody's got a detail color, and you can change that there. You can also see all the visitors in the scene. So if you're in multiplayer and somebody's being a little annoying and you want to mute them, you can just click on mute next to their name and you'll mute them. And then you have settings for muting your microphone, and that's the multiplayer features. In lines, this is pretty self-explanatory. You get a marker in your hand and you can just draw with lines. Tags is the ability to annotate. So if you've gone in here and created something epic and you want to share it with the world and you want to let them know what it was, you can leave a note and you can type a little message and you can submit it and close it, and now that note's there persistently. So if I hover over it, I'll see that note, and everybody else that logs in later on can see that note, so you can keep a record of what you're building. We already talked about all the asset stuff. A lot of cool new assets in here. You can put people. We've got, yeah, just a lot of really exciting asset packs. And again, watch that pack menu, because this will update. You don't actually have to update Immerse Creator to see the new asset packs. As we prepare them, you'll see them pop into your menu automatically, and then you'll be able to acquire those. Materials, we just fixed a bug recently where now you can paint with materials and it won't you won't accidentally be able to move the object that you're painting, so you can just very freely go around and change the materials of things. So that's materials. Saver, we already talked about the exports, the imports, saving. You can save your configuration. If you're logged into multiplayer, clear all, test, submit. Now I can save it offline or I can save it online. If I save it online, it'll show up for anybody to be able to access it and see it in the public sandbox that you're in, whichever room you're in. Settings is something you're going to want to definitely keep track of if you're building with shapes or actually anything. So right now, if I go into my settings, I don't have any frozen rotations and I'm not limiting raycast. So if I select something, it just kind of moves however. But if I check limit raycast and I point at the ground, it'll lock it to the ground. So now no matter where I go, it locks that object onto that plane. And now if I put this upright and I go to freeze rotation on the X and the Z axis, now she'll only turn on that axis. So that makes it a little bit easier to manage and control. And likewise with freezing position, you can freeze it to an axis. And that's something you're really going to want to keep an eye on, especially if you're using, if you're trying to position furniture in the scene and you want it to stay, like if I take a chair or something, and I just want to bring it into the scene, I want it to keep locked onto the ground plane. So as long as I keep that limit raycast selected, I'll always be able to kind of lock it. Now it's only moving that direction right now because I can go up and down, and I can go left and right, but I can't move it toward me because I have it locked on that axis. So if I turn that off and lock that, now I can move it this way, but I can't move it up and down. So those are pretty helpful when you're modeling, to just keep those in mind. And I think that's it. That's it for the Immerse Creator update number 3 video. We hope you enjoy working with this, and definitely let us know as you're going if you have any ideas for how we can improve it, or assets that you'd like to improve, see us import, or bugs that you notice. Definitely let us know, and we'd love to hear from you. So that's it. Happy creating.